Taekwon to all those grandmasters, masters, colleagues and friends out there. Fantastic to see you all at this third Virtual IIC International Instructors course. My name is Michael Muleta. For those who don't know me, I'm the Undersecretary of the International Taekwondo Federation and also the President of INO number 23 in Australia. We're a foundation member of the International Taekwondo Federation and very pleased to be part of this presentation this evening. My section in this presentation is only going to be relatively short though. It's to promote a larger presentation that I'll be making at the next International Instructors course later in the year. For those of you who know a little bit about my background, I've been involved in education for the last 35 years, particularly physical education and sports in the areas of coaching and science and development. So this is an area that is something I do cover quite a lot, and that is the biomechanics of sporting techniques or the biomechanics of movement. Biomechanics basically is just a term meaning body movement. So we're looking at the most effective and most efficient ways the body can move. Of course, my job will be to tie that into Taekwondo techniques to give it relevance to how we move in the dojang or in the competition arena or in self-defense type movements and so on. So our presentation in a few months' time obviously will involve some demonstrations, and I'll have some other partners here, not just Bob, who is not all that cooperative, but some live human beings that we can show you some application of some of the biomechanical principles and concepts. What we're looking for is basically the most efficient and the most effective way to move, okay, using what we know about the body's joints, muscle control, balance, and all those types of things. One thing we do cover quite a lot in Taekwondo, and we do emphasis quite a lot, is power, or the development of power. And Grandmaster Barat gave a fantastic seminar a few months ago as part of an earlier International Instructors course. And we just want to take that as an extension because there was a lot of interest generated from that great presentation. So what we're looking for is the transferring of the power, or the creation of power, into the techniques, which was covered at the last one. But we're going to go a little bit beyond that. So obviously that's an area that interests a lot of people because we want to be able to hit hard and we want to be able to hit fast. We want to be able to break things. So what we're doing is trying to find ways not only to perform ourselves, but also ways that we can give cues to students. Okay, so as an instructor, okay, we can show them how to do things, and we can give them simple instructions like, bend your arms and bend your legs. That gives them the how, but what we want to also do as they get more developed, as they get a bit older, as they have more experience, we want to give them the why. Okay, why they do things a certain way, why they need to bend their arms, why they need to bend their legs, why they need to position their body in a certain way, and how that helps in the execution of the technique, because that's very important. Okay, we don't just want to mirror somebody else, we want to be able to model good technique, but also understand what we're doing, why we're doing it. And that's what makes you a better instructor, that's what makes you a better coach moving forwards from a technique point of view. Okay, obviously there's a lot of other things that go into that soup bowl as well, but we're mainly focusing on technique. Okay, so the production of force is critically important in Taekwondo, and then transferring that into a movement which we say is powerful. Okay, so we're looking at how we can sequence the body's movements. Okay, what moves first, why it moves first, why that's important, how to generate momentum, how to get the body moving with mass to generate or to create the maximum impact or the maximum impulse at the point or at the stage where we want it. And this is not dissimilar to any other sporting type endeavor where we're applying power, and that's most sporting endeavors, whether it's throwing a ball or hitting a baseball or jumping over a pole or whatever it might be. They all draw on the same biomechanical principles, and in terms of Taekwondo movement, it's not a whole lot different in terms of the principles that we use. A lot of us in our training have probably heard a lot of the things or do certain things that we will talk about but you may have used different terminology. So we're going to try and tie in some of the more scientific or more biomechanical terminology into some of the things you're already doing, but also maybe touch on a couple of areas that you might think, okay, this is a way I can make this a little bit better. An example might be, when we're using our crossing positions or our preparation positions in certain movements, a lot of people explain it in terms of the distance that one tool has to travel relative to the other. And yes, that's true in terms of starting and stopping at the same time and all those type of things which we teach. But then there's other reasons why we have to have both arms and both legs properly bent. And General Che actually says in one of his training secrets, both arms and both legs must be properly bent. But not a lot of people make the connection as to why, okay, because he doesn't extend that into a more scientific explanation. So we look at things like the stretch shortening cycle of muscle control, the stretch reflex of a muscle, how it's important not just to bend the arms or the legs, but also the speed with which we do it, okay? Because if there's any pause in our sequence, then we lose our momentum, which then means we lose our power as a result of that pause. So we're not only looking at the preparation, but we're also looking at the timing and the flow of the technique. So these are things that we're going to cover. We don't want to let everything out of the bag right now, just giving you some general ideas of some of the things that we're looking at. Summation of forces, how we go from the larger, slower muscle groups to the more explosive, smaller muscle groups at the end of our limbs, which is basically what we're using often to strike. So whether it's our feet, whether it's our hands, and so we look at that summation of forces and the sequence that needs to happen. Direction of movement as well. Okay, and again, I know we explain this to students, how we want, our mass and we want our power traveling the same direction of the technique. But we're going to, again, break it down a little bit more scientifically as to why that's important and what happens when that doesn't happen. Other things we will look at is creating torque or rotational force. A lot of our techniques in Taekwondo involve rotation, and whether we're creating that rotation on the ground or whether we're creating that rotation in the air, like how do we generate the force which enables us to spin, how we can manipulate the body to spin faster or spin slower once we're actually in the air. Because once we're in the air, there's only so many things we can do that affect the body. So we look at some of the things that can have an influence once we leave the ground. So there's all those type of things. Of course, we look at balance and we look at muscle control and we look at controlling our body's movement so that we control the movement rather than gravity controlling us, or that we have a technique, which is going to cause us to lose balance or fall over or whatever. So anyway, so there's just a few previews to the sort of things we're going to cover in the next International Instructors course, which will be later in the year after the World Championships. So I hope you can get along. I hope you can encourage your students who teach classes and others, of course. Those who coach athletes or coach students will find it very, very valuable. I hope to see you all in Amsterdam. I'll definitely be there. I hope many of you can be there also. Do come up and say hello, and I look forward to meeting you all. And of course, old friends, dear friends, seeing you all again. So I hope you've enjoyed this weekend. I hope you enjoy the rest of this course, both in the International Instructors course, also the umpiring course, and those of you involved in coaching in the coaching course. Very important that you do participate in these workshops, whether it's virtual. Of course, we'd all love to be training face to face, and very shortly that's going to happen. But I think the virtual opportunities allows a lot of people from a lot of different places to come together at the same time. So try and have a balance of both, because they're both valuable assets or valuable tools to have. So thank you to the International Taekwondo Federation for allowing me to be a part of not only this presentation but the next one, which I'm really looking forward to. I will be creating some material for you to keep as a reference to take away from the next course. and that will be distributed after the course, just so you have some notes or some items that you can reflect upon afterwards, and to remind you. Like I said, a lot of things are in the encyclopedia, but they're explained up to a point. Obviously, it's not a science textbook, it's a Taekwondo textbook, so we're just exploring that scientific side a little bit more, but not so much to bamboozle you, in a way that you can actually easily transfer it across to your students. So great to see you all. Okay, enjoy the weekend. See you all in Amsterdam. Taekwon.